Alright, so I've done quite a few videos about hunting morels, and I figured if I'm going to have those, I might as well have a video about how to cook morels. So I'm going to just do a video that shows kind of the easy, quick method that I use to cook morels pretty much every time that I make them. Alright, so the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need a bowl full of water with a little bit of salt in it. That's so that we can soak the morels in there once we get them cut, to remove any dirt, sand, bugs, anything that might be in the morels. Second, you're going to need your morels. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our morels, we're going to cut them straight down the middle to split them in half. Once they're split, then they're just going to go into the water. And we'll just continue doing that until we have all the morels that we plan on cooking done and ready to go inside of the water. Alright, once you have all your morels cut and ready, you're going to want to let those soak for about 30 minutes. Usually we just throw them in the fridge. If you do have mushrooms that you don't plan on eating, you can dry them like in a dehydrator. They come back when you just soak them in a bowl full of water pretty well. So we're just going to take these right here, and we're going to throw them on a tray and throw them in the dehydrator. Alright, so we got these all trimmed up, and we're just going to load them on the tray. They don't have to be on there too neat or fancy or anything, they're just going to get dried anyway. And then I usually do them for about 8 hours at 113 degrees. They dry pretty easy, so then we'll let those go. Once your mushrooms have been soaked and cleaned, then you're just going to want to drain them, and then we'll have those set aside. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a brown paper bag, and in that brown paper bag we are going to add a mix of flour, garlic powder, salt, and black pepper. Garlic powder, salt, black pepper. And I never really do any specific measure. I kind of just throw in enough to make sure that I'll be able to properly coat the mushrooms and give it that little bit of extra flavoring. I don't usually like to have it too overpowering because the mushrooms themselves taste really good, and I don't really want to mask the flavor of the mushrooms. Once we have our mix in our bag, we'll just take our morels and we'll add those into the mix. Once our mushrooms are added in, we'll re-close up the bag. We'll just give it a quick shake until all of our mushrooms have a nice coating of the flour over the top of them. We'll want our mushrooms to look about like that right there. We want them to be floured, but not to the point where they're super heavily caked in flour. Next, what we're going to want to do is get a pan, throw a stick and a half of butter inside of the pan, and we're going to turn that on to a low heat and let that butter melt. Alright, once we have the butter hot and melted, then we're just going to slowly add our morels right into that butter. Alright, we're going to want to let those cook for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then we're going to flip them over. Now you want to make sure that you cook your morels thoroughly because morels do have a toxin in them. If you eat them raw, it can upset your stomach, make you a little bit sick. That toxin is destroyed from heat, which is why cooking them makes them completely safe to be able to eat. So we just want to make sure that we thoroughly cook our morels before we consume them. Alright, once they've been cooking for about 4 to 5 minutes, then we're just going to use a fork and we're going to flip them. We just want them to be that nice golden brown. And then we're gonna let them go for about 4 to 5 minutes on the other side. I'm just gonna give a quick check. Oh yeah, perfect. Once they get cooked to that golden brown, then we're just gonna pull them all out, set them on the plate. Then all that's left is to throw a little dash of salt on. Let them cool for a few minutes so that you don't burn yourself. And enjoy. And there you have it. That's the best way to cook morels. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps you out with how to cook your morels if you are out there catching or picking them for the first time. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.